Okay, sure. Let's take a look at the first look on the VR headset or so from Steam, because Steam announced like multiple stuff. But I'm curious on the VR headset itself, actually.
Everyone knows that outside-in tracking is just better for VR gaming. It's faster, more accurate, and it's more reliable. Well, here's the thing. Valve isn't everyone, and the new Steam Frame took my expectations of a lousy, flaky experience in a standalone VR headset with camera-based positional tracking and blew them away. They also blew away my expectations for their new Steam Machine and Steam controller, but that's a separate video. We'll have that link down below.
Yeah.
In 2 words or less, this thing is impossibly good, and maybe more importantly, impossibly versatile. They managed to make it lighter, more comfortable, and higher fidelity than the OG Index for PC.
That's the one thing that I hate about the Steam Indexed, is that, well, at least during the time or so when I got sick, from time to time or so, the headset will sometimes weigh too much forward. Like, it'll weigh a little bit too much forward, and it'll be resting on my nose sometimes, and then it'll sound like this when I'm like, it'll rest on my nose, and then it just kind of gives me a little bit of irritation sometimes, and I always have to pull it back a little bit, but then it'd be a little too tight or so then I have to loosen it up again, and then it'll repeat the process over and over and over again. So
VR gaming. They managed to bolt an ARM-based computer to it that runs mobile VR games and applications. You can even just sideload an Android APK, and the whole thing runs freaking SteamOS with a new element to their Proton compatibility layer called Fex that allows you to play desktop VR games. I'm talking x86 Windows VR games on your ARM Linux VR headset. I would mic drop this, but I think I'd get in trouble. The last part I wouldn't believe if I didn't experience it for myself, but they did all of this with latency that is indistinguishable from the best VR experiences that I've had. But is it indistinguishable from the best segue I've ever had? To our sponsor, Jawa. Jawa is your one-stop shop to buy and sell used games. Shop now at lttstore.com! Frame is a fundamental shift for Valve. Rather than being an accessory for your gaming PC, it's meant to be a standalone device that can also be enjoyed alongside your PC using wireless streaming for VR, which sounds horrible, but somehow it's not. Let's take a closer look at the hardware. Then we can talk about how they did it. The headset that I'm holding is actually made up of multiple components. The core module contains the actual computer and weighs under 190 grams. Then next is an audio module that can be detached with 3 clips under the foam gasket.
what the fuck? Wait, what? An audio module that's underneath the headset itself, and you can take it apart? Wait, can you, a question or so, if you remove this, right, can you hook up your own headphones to it, question mark? Or is it just completely like you won't be able to hear any audio? Huh, interesting.
Then there's the head strap and a battery pack that is cleverly positioned at the back to help counterbalance the device, improving comfort, and also to make it a little bit easier to cable manage if you wanted to have an external battery pack. The optics are, simply put, flipping incredible. Like other leading headsets, they're using pancake lenses, but unlike some other headsets that use pancake lenses, there was very little in the way of internal reflections visible in the demo applications that I use today. It is possible that with brighter light sources, it could show up a bit more, but that's going to be something that I'll have to save for the full review. What I can tell you is that under each lens is a 2160 by 2160 LCD display that's capable of anywhere from 72 hertz, presumably for power saving.
My question is, how much is this gonna cost? That's my curiosity, because what is it? Isn't the entire, like, the VR kit itself that they have specifically is like, isn't it like 1,000 or something like that? Yeah, it's like 1,000, but you can't buy it though. The headset and the controller is Okay. Headset by itself. Okay. Interesting.
Up to 120 Hz with a 144 Hz experimental mode, just like we had on the Valve Index. As for why Valve decided to use LCD rather than OLED, it basically came down to the light losses due to the pancake lenses. Ooh, since I'm pointing at them, on the inside of each lens, maybe you could even see them if you went cross-eyed enough, is an eye tracker that's obviously going to be great for social VR experiences, but perhaps more importantly, enables Valve to do what they call Foveated streaming, which I'm going to have to explain later because it gets a little in the weeds.
What is that?
First, let's take a look at the controllers. Valve fully acknowledges that these are very similar to other designs in the market, but they wanted something that was both great for VR and also great for your non-VR applications if you just want to use your headset as a giant virtual display. And they still managed to add some Valve touches to them, putting capacitive sensing on all input surfaces and on the grips, so you can still do 5-finger tracking just like the Knuckles controllers from the Valve Index.
That's crazy. Dude, that's fucking wild that you can still do finger tracking with this thing. I'm so fucking curious on this.
They have 2-stage actuating triggers, 2-stage actuating grips, which unlocks a ton of control customization. They use the same magnetic thumbstick as the new Steam controller for better reliability and a very small dead zone, and they each have their own independent gyros that can be rebound for aiming or whatever you want. I can't tell if they were being suggestive there, given the popularity of certain VR applications, but I can't say for sure that they weren't. Both controllers have an integrated IMU to track positional data, and 18 infrared LEDs that can be tracked by the 4 high field of view cameras that are integrated into the frame's core module. These were strategically positioned so that even if you were, say for example, drawing an arrow from a quiver, it should be able to maintain tracking. Now,
Really?
I didn't get a chance to try that, nor did I get to fire up Beat Saber.
That's the thing that I'm curious about, because it has like so when it comes to like the Valve Index, right? You have depending on your setup, of course. For me, right? This is just my personal setup. I have 4 cameras. I think one of my cameras might be malfunctioning, but I'm not too sure though. But I have 4 cameras in total, right? And usually they can be able to track, if you put the controller behind your head or behind you or anything like that in general, right? Like they have that specifically. But with these headsets specifically, you only have like 4 cameras. You have 2 in the front, you got 2 on the sides, right? My curiosity is, because he's saying like you don't lose tracking, but the question is, if I put my controller in the back of my back or behind me, will I start losing tracking, or is it just going to guess where it's at because it doesn't see it in its peripheral on the camera itself? That's what I'm curious about. Or my other question is, can you combine those 4 cameras with the Valve Index lighthouses to get like actual pretty insane tracking, to be honest? And it's my curiosity if you can even combine. I hope so, because that would be really fucking cool.
Favorite application for evaluating controller tracking under extreme conditions. But from just shaking them around in the menu, they seem to track extremely well.
Really?
Valve is claiming about 40 hours of battery life off of a single AA, and this battery compartment is a perfect transition into the customizability that's on display with this headset. They're going to have an optional accessory kit that includes knuckle straps for the controller, as well as a second head strap with a top Velcro piece if you like a bit of additional support.
How much is that shit going to cost? That's the question to ask. How much is that going to cost me? Because you're not including them into the actual kit itself, I think it should have been part of the kit. in my personal opinion, at least the straps for the knuckles anyways, so.
I personally liked it better, but I also didn't feel like it was necessary like it is on the much heavier Apple Vision Pro. There's a lot more to customize on the frame itself too. It includes a spacer gasket for folks with long eyelashes and to improve compatibility with glasses, but Valve fully acknowledges that not everyone will want to use that because it does take away a little bit from their claimed about 110-degree field of view. So they are working on prescription lenses for the headset itself. We even saw
Yes, dude. I need to buy prescription lenses for my headset too as well.
a box of them, but there's no specific timeline on that. IPD adjustments are handled with a little knob on the top that spins a cog on the core module, and this is really cool. Right between the goggles at the bottom here is an expansion port that allows up to two 2.5 gigabit MIPI cameras, or a single camera with a PCIe Gen 4 by 1 slot, allowing all kinds of possibilities for additional accessories. Like if you wanted color cameras, for instance, the built-in ones are only monochromatic. Or if you wanted, I don't know, a smell sensor, the sky's the limit.
Wait, can we put, wait. Are you telling me that we can add a mouth tracking on the mouth tracking on the headset itself? Headset seems to be swaying me just a little bit. It is swaying me a little bit because it is lightweight. It's not as super heavy as the Index, and the customization is very, very interesting indeed. Okay.
Since we're on the subject of the cameras, Valve says that they will work for inside-out tracking even in pitch darkness thanks to IR emitters that are built into the headset itself.
Really?
And you can expect tracking performance on the order of about 200 to 250 updates per second, which is about on par with the Valve Index.
That's crazy.
Not something that I expected.
Yeah, I was not expecting. Yeah, because that's the Valve Index. It's crazy because it's a wireless headset too as well.
Now that I've had a chance to gather my thoughts and eat some crappy airport food, let's talk about how Valve is delivering a PC VR-like experience wirelessly when big names like Apple and Meta have tried and never really succeeded. It starts with the least interesting looking part, this 6 gigahertz Wi-Fi dongle. Valve built the headset with 2 radios and 2 antennas for Wi-Fi, along with a 3rd dedicated antenna for your controllers or your Bluetooth peripherals. One of those Wi-Fi antennas handles 5 gigahertz for your game downloads, your multiplayer data, your voice chat, etc. The other one connects to a very high-end home router, or more likely, Valve's dongle using the so far mostly unused 6 gigahertz band. This is a perfect use case for 6 gigahertz, since it lacks the wall penetration that you might want for home Wi-Fi, but it excels at avoiding 2.4 and 5 gigahertz channel congestion while pushing huge amounts of bandwidth. With that said, while the theoretical maximum is right up there with wired connections, in the real world it falls well short of that. So what's the secret? Foveated streaming.
Yeah, this.
Seeing this in action blew my flipping mind. Basically, the idea behind it is similar to foveated rendering, where the headset tracks your eyes and tells your GPU, hey, only render the area of focus at full fidelity and save your resources on the rest of the scene. It's a technique that's been used to great effect on the handful of PSVR 2 titles that exist, but has been largely untapped on the PC side. Largely because it depends on game developers to implement it. And also, most headsets don't have built-in eye tracking, so why would they bother? Foveated streaming then. Again, same idea. Focus your resources wherever the eyes are looking. Except in this case, it's not the GPU saving on rendering resources.
Oh, he does have braces. Okay, because I was looking at his mouth or so. I couldn't tell if he actually has braces or not. He does. That's crazy.
It's the video encoding stream saving on bitrate. So you get crystal clear, high bitrate encoding, exactly where your eyes are looking, and then a little bit blurry everywhere else. At least in theory. In practice, it reacted so fast that no matter how quickly I tried to move my eyes, I wasn't able to catch it. But I also don't feel too bad about that. Valve put on an incredible demo for me in Half-Life Alyx, where they highlighted the maximum fidelity window as I was looking around. And even though they say it's only about 10% of the total video stream, it ends up being a pretty large window. Wild. As for the encoding latency, well, thanks to some clever parallelization of the encoding, you can expect anywhere from 1 to 2 milliseconds of extra latency on a modern GPU, and 4 to 5 for a slightly older but still VR-capable one. Not enough to notice or to contribute to significant motion sickness. And it keeps getting better. I managed to get almost 50 feet away from the dongle without a noticeable difference in the experience.
Really?
Now, granted, this is still line of sight, but it's a lot further than I can get with a tether. Now, I did bring up the possibility of more than one of these devices causing interference with each other. And Valve said that while they have operated multiple headsets concurrently in the same space, they haven't explored more demanding use cases like packed VR cafes. Moving on to audio. The built-in solution is both incredibly impressive and also a little disappointing.
Of course.
I'm impressed by the audio quality. They apparently had to use opposing drivers to cancel out the vibrations to make sure that the inside-out tracking wouldn't get messed up, and they sound fantastic. As for the mic, I didn't get a chance to test it, but Valve assured me that the mics should carry on the Index's incredible reputation for stellar microphone performance.
Really? It's using the freaking Valve Index's microphone? Because that's a really good microphone, I'm not gonna lie. I haven't really gave any editing or so on it to make it sound good and stuff like that, but interesting.
I'm disappointed because I literally had the engineer who worked on the Index and this new headset in the room with me, and when I asked her for a gaming headset with all this same audio black magic, she just shrugged. So, sorry y'all, I tried. In all seriousness, the speakers don't fire directly into your ears, so there is a bit more
Random
sound
stuff,
bleed
as
than with
always.
the Index, but it doesn't seem like a game breaker, depending on what you're watching and who's around. The last couple of experiences I want to talk about are a huge deal whether you plan to use them or not. The first is Thex, an open source project that Valve has been contributing, and this is a quote, quite heavily to. It's a translation layer that allowed me to experience a completely standard Windows x86 game, Hades 2 in this case, running directly on the hardware on the frame. I'm talking
wow.
x86 code designed to run on Windows, running on a Snapdragon 8650 running Linux. Holy freaking mind blown. They're planning a compatibility list a la Great on Deck for the future. But wait a second, running on Linux? Yeah, Valve's been busy porting SteamOS to ARM. How did they drop so much news on one day? The frame does everything that you know and love about SteamOS, like fast suspend and resume and performance overlays, except on your VR headset directly. And as I mentioned briefly in the intro, if you blinked, you might have missed it. With this new ARM processor comes the ability to, supposedly, run Android APKs by directly sideloading them onto the Steam frame. And given how many VR experiences are designed to run on mobile devices, this is a colossal win. And with Valve's commitment to putting micro SD card slots on all their devices, it can't be too hard to install. Now, there are still some areas where the frame doesn't seem to be industry leading. The light seal isn't perfect, especially if you compare it to the Beyond 2 with its custom 3D printed gasket. The pass-through cameras, they're just monochromes, so don't expect to be wearing your frame out and about like people did with the Apple Vision Pro for the first week or so. From my very brief, and admittedly not side-by-side experience, it's also not the highest clarity nor highest dynamic range display I've ever seen, and it's not as light or compact as, say, the big screen Beyond 2. But it's the overall package that should have the entire rest of the industry stopping and going, how did Valve, who, as of 2021, supposedly had less than 350 employees, manage to outmaneuver monsters like Meta, who spent $17.7 billion on Reality Labs just last fiscal year? I would ask Gaben how it happened, but I'm pretty sure he's busy on his yacht. All I know is that I want one, whether it's for wireless PC gaming, native gaming on the road with minimal bulk in my bag, or even just relaxing on the couch watching movies on the big screen.
Oh, wow.
Like, what kind of sucker needs a big TV when this thing exists? So, with the frame clearly taking the place of the Index in Valve's lineup, what happens to all the users of the Index and, maybe more importantly, the third-party ecosystem that exists around its base stations and Knuckles controllers?
Yeah.
The short answer is the Index is EOL. But the long answer is Valve would love to see other players in the VR space approach them about continuing to support or even continuing to manufacture these devices. Whether that'll happen, I don't know, but at least Valve is open to the conversation. Just like I'm open to telling you.
If the one thing that I want, so this is the one true thing that I want, is that it'll probably come in a software update or something like that to have be able to use the Valve Index controllers with this headset, and then also on top of that being able to use the base stations with the actual with the headset itself. If I can do that, that means your old setup is not even obsolete, and all you would have to do is just upgrade. You would buy the VR headset with the controller, and you can just swap out. Like if your Valve Index controller dies or so, you can put them on recharge and then swap in with the one for this one, and then you can still keep playing and everything. So
About our sponsor.
Grammarly. Ready?
okay, all right, but we're not done yet though. So let me see. We're not done yet because
you know-
he also, I assume he also discussed the. No, not yet. He hasn't made a video on it. It hasn't been published yet, but apparently also Steam has announced the basically the console. It's basically a fucking console at this point. It's going to be competing in the in the space itself, and check out the Valve Steam frame. I would totally buy this to test it out, but unfortunately everything comes at a bad timing for me. But I'd rather wait on reviews for this thing, in my personal opinion. Because we all know for a fact when you adopt a first generation tech when it comes to this, there's going to be a lot of hiccups to begin with. So I'm going to be very curious on this. This is the thing that I'm curious about. And if we can combine our Valve lighthouses with this or so, I think it's gonna be pretty freaking cool, I'm not gonna lie. There is no price for this, right? Let me see. I don't think so. I don't think they announced any in Steam. There is no price for this. It is expected to cost less than the Valve Index. And the premium headset, some industry speculators suggested it could cost around 1,200, while other estimates place it between the 500 Meta Quest 3. And the premium Samsung and Apple's offering the final prices will depend on the storage configuration and is expected to announce closer to its 2026 release date. So they want this thing to be cheaper than the Valve Index. That's interesting. Thank you for the follow. Welcome. Okay. If it's actually cheap, especially in this economy or so, I might actually maybe pick one up actually, depending on the timing and everything. So, okay. All right. Well, that's the end of the video. You guys can comment, like, subscribe, do all that fancy jazzy stuff. Yeah, I wouldn't mind picking up a. I would definitely pick up, like, I guess, kind of like a new headset, just because, like, I like the Valve Index headset. It's not bad, but the problem is sometimes it kind of is a little bit heavy, so it kind of like weighs too much forward on my bridge of my nose, so it's like sitting like this sometimes, you know. And I think it just would be better something a little bit more lightweight. So, well, we'll see what happens. I think that's the one thing that I kind of like disliked about like the headset, is because of the weight distribution of it sitting too much forward, and then every time I adjust it or so, it'll be a little too tight for me, and then I can't play for very long, so then I have to loosen it up a little bit. But then we go back to that same problem again. So, but yeah. Anyways, that is the end of the video, and who knows? We'll see what happens. Like I said, I'd be very curious to see what other shenanigans will be happening for the Steam hardware stuff aside. So definitely not going to be interested in picking up the controller and the console, but because I know Asmongold is going to be picking up the console, so I'd rather watch him play it. But or whatever other tech YouTuber would make a review on it. But for me, the headset is what I'm interested. But I am curious on the content / VR vibe of it. So I'd rather wait for what is it, Oasis VR to talk about it, and whatever other specific VR content creator. So yeah. Anyways, that's the end of the video, and peace. Oh yeah, and I'm also still dying too as well. So.